I have often referenced the Freedmen Savings Bank and Bureau in many of my videos because I believe it's a great accomplishment. I know I'm not the only one who believes this, but that was a great accomplishment that our people achieved right directly after being enslaved in this country. They amassed millions of dollars on their own. This government didn't help them. Matter of fact, we are one of the only groups in this country who does not get help from this government. And if anybody doesn't believe me, do some research and prove me wrong. I've always had this question. I would like someone to answer this question. Who convinced Black Americans that they needed to integrate? Why didn't you remain separated? They wanted to be segregationists. Our people, most of our people wanted to remain separated. So who convinced you that integration was the key? When we have proven throughout history that we can build our own successful infrastructures and communities and didn't need one dime from this government. I'll be waiting. Until then, I'll talk more about this when I come back. Hey, everyone. Hope everything is going grand for you. As I was saying initially, I'll reference the Freedman Savings Bank often in my videos, my shorts, what have you. And because I believe that's one of the amazing things that our people accomplish during such a time that they have had during that time in this country, during that era. You know, just being released from chains and dealing with almost, evaporating because it was nothing for them when after they were emancipated on paper, it was like our people were literally left to die. They were stricken with a lot of diseases and, didn't have anywhere to go. Diseases because sometimes they would, the conditions that they were forced to live in, it was sickening. I did 2 videos talking about that, what happened to our people after the emancipation. A lot of people don't want to talk about. They want to brag about Lincoln so-called setting us free when actually they were tired of the revolts. They were terrified of the revolts.
We demand freedom now!
That our people were commencing across this country, and it was like, listen, either let them go or they're going to tear this country up. So that's what they don't want to talk about either. That's why they don't like, they didn't like critical race theory. But anyway, they left them to die, but it didn't happen. So Reconstruction occurred and our people achieved some amazing things. And you know why? One of the reasons, they pulled the vicious dogs off of them. They had the Union soldiers, basically guarding our people from the savages, from the Southern savages that wanted to eviscerate our people. Because, they didn't have guns at the time. Our people didn't have guns. So they were being protected, so to speak. So they had an amazing journey for those 10 years before the Republicans sold them out. I did a short. I upload my shorts to TikTok as well. And I said something about doing a video talking about the Freedmen's Bureau, mainly the Freedmen Savings Bank. And this man asked me to do it. And this was like probably before last year summer. So I'm finally doing it. But I wanted to touch on something right quick before I get into the content of this video. So the last full video I did was discussing Black Americans routinely being harassed, discriminated, and treated prejudicially on jobs in this country, around the country. And the reason why I did a video on that is because I did a short on a woman, and it was a group of people suing Texas Houston Community College for mass discrimination. It was like the black people. If you have not seen the short, I'll probably attach it to the description. But the black people at that community college held top positions, and it was two Hispanics and one white woman got together and colluded to either demote the black people in those top positions or get them fired. So they have $100 million lawsuit against the college. The black Americans have the black people, I don't know if they're all black Americans, but the black people have $100 million lawsuit against the college. And according to Dunny on TikTok, he said they have until this year, the college has until this year to settle the suit. So when I heard about that, I was like, I want to help teach my people how to combat this. If you're on a job, it doesn't matter what kind of job you're on, career, doctor, lawyer, whatever, and you have proof that you're being being discriminated against, you're treated biasly, it doesn't matter. You're always the butt of racist, sorry, sad jokes. I want to give my people the tools to fight this. And I know some people will be like, who don't know how to fight it. You would be amazed how many people don't. How many people don't do anything about these situations because they don't know what to do, or they might think nobody's going to help them. You wouldn't know if you don't try. Somebody commented on someone else's comment saying, you think showing people how to go to court is going to solve the problem, or you think that's the only problem? Something they said like that. I said that's not the problem. The problem is racism, biasness, and discrimination. That's the problem. That's the root of the problem. Some of the solutions are, the main solution is stop. If you got an issue with certain people, certain groups, mainly black Americans, do your job and let your personal feelings be at home in your car away from the job. That's how you could keep from being sued and possibly filing for bankruptcy. So I said, that's the main problem. And then I said, one of the solutions is taking you to court. If we didn't have the racism and discrimination and biasness and unfair hiring practices, there wouldn't be a need for the lawsuits. I also added clips of black people calling ICE, and some people got offended. Surprise, surprise. The reason why I added those clips is because I felt like our people are shamed for doing certain things. You got majority of Hispanics who are ICE agents. You don't hear too many people talking about that. But then when you found out it was black people who were ICE agents, people flipped their wigs. So it's just so unfair on so many levels. If we don't have jobs, we're lazy, don't want to work, just want to get welfare. We have jobs, you're talking about that. So I felt that my people who want to call ICE, who have no issue with calling ICE, I put those clips in there to let them know, don't let nobody shame you or bully you out of doing what you want to do. And it's not saying calling ICE as a tool for revenge. It's saying, hey, if you see something going on that ain't supposed to be going on, call them just like they do with us. We could be in a group laughing and talking, not doing anything, and people call the police on us. But it's not to be like, okay, well, you did this to me, so I'm going to do it to you. It's not that at all. But I wanted my people to feel like, don't let nobody make you feel ashamed. If this is what you choose to do, do it. For my people to stop feeling ashamed. Stop letting these hypocritic, two-faced, lying, deceitful people make you feel ashamed, and don't let your own people make you feel ashamed. That's the issue I have with a lot of black Americans. Somebody wrote an excellent comment, and I'm going to read it in this video. They said, first defense is to stop patronizing their businesses. They want your money, not you. Secondly, we're not kin folks. Leave them skin folks alone. Finally, be ready to act when you're violated. Black folks have a high tolerance for abuse from other folks, and it won't stop until you stop it. Know your rights. I told them I was going to discuss their comment in this video, And that's what I believe some of the problem is with our community. We allow ourselves to undergo so much abuse, so much disrespect before we lash out, before we deal with it. And I believe that stems from slavery. And I feel like the ones who have a problem with other black people calling ICE, they have that problem because it's like, they're why would you do that to them? And they're just trying to have a better life. And, we always see the bigger picture when it comes to others, but these same people do not see the bigger picture when it comes to us. Having understanding and compassion, but we always give it to others. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with having compassion for other people. But what's wrong with it is when you allow yourself to be a welcome mat while having compassion for others. Stop letting people walk over you and giving them a pass. But when it comes, like, you will want to come and check me for discussing this or doing a video on this topic and this situation, but you won't check those who come over here illegally, disrespecting your people, disrespecting your loved ones, getting your people, your loved ones fired, but you still have compassion for these people who come over here and basically, excuse my language, shit in your face. You still will have compassion. They could pick up a pile of horse dung and sling it in your face. You'll still find a way to have compassion and understanding for them. But I'm coming here like handing you some tools to show you how to deal with this better, in a better way, to take the stress away from you, to take the, you're feeling miserable and just like at your wit's end because you're being harassed at work. So I'm giving you the tools to help relieve that pressure. And you got mad at me, or will get mad at me. That's the psychology of this BS. And it's tiresome. The backlash is ridiculous. Like, I have to laugh, man. It's crazy. So I wanted to touch on a few things that I forgot to add to that video. I thought I wrote precise notes, but apparently I left some things out. So let me say those things right quick, and then we're going to get into the meat and the potatoes of this video. One thing I forgot to mention is when you observe unfair hiring practices, you've been going to an establishment for quite a bit of time, and you always seem to notice one group mainly are the employees. That can possibly be unfair hiring practices, or you just have other groups who are not interested in working there, but I doubt that seriously. So what I do when I discover that, or assume that's what's going on, or suspect, I question the manager. Well, I come here often, I spend my money here. There are quite a bit of multicultural, ethnic people who come give their business to this establishment, or money. Why is there only like one particular group that is always employed? They'll come with the lame brain excuse. These are the people who apply for the job. You're a damn lie. What you do is be like, okay, well, this can be seen as unfair hiring practices. This can be investigated. And lo and behold, I go there a little bit after I ask the manager what's going on, and then you'll see a black person working there. So it's no harm in confronting management when you see that. You're spending your money there. It would be nice to see people who look like you working there. And I'm not talking about Africans. I'm talking about Black Americans. It would be nice to see Black Americans work there. If you're being harassed on your job, you can take them to small claims court. Yes, you can. All you have to do is have the appropriate documentations of what's been going on, the harassment. Like I said, when you're addressing this matter, do not call on the phone. Do not talk to them face to face. Do not talk to them in private. You document everything. You send emails. If you can send text messages to your superiors, because I'm sure nowadays you have that option. You do it. You have it in writing. And if you have somebody that is willing to have your back and be a witness, that's a blessing. But you go to small claims court, you have the ability to ask for help. If you can't ask someone at the court for help, look online. Somebody would know what the procedures are for filing a case in small claims court. I did one about over 5 years ago. The day that I went to court for small claims, I would have won that day, but an attorney gave me the wrong information, so the judge gave me time to fix it, and he told the defendant that he better get it together before our next court appointment. But I didn't end up going back to small claims court because I hired an attorney and we just did a civil suit against his ass and we won. So, like I said, I'm not telling you something I haven't done myself, people. And yes, it was for harassment and discrimination and all the above, right? So yeah, you can go to small claims court, have your information, your proof and whatnot available, and you can possibly win a case for $12,000. And the max you can ask for is $12,500. You can do pro per, and that's representing yourself. You'll be amazed how many people represented themselves in a suit and won. Matter of fact, some third-party credit card company tried to sue me. I knew part of my rights that basically when it comes to third-party credit card companies, you don't owe them anything. I'm going to tell you why. Because you never signed a contract or agreement with them. They bought a debt from somebody else, from the original owners of that debt. You don't owe the third-party people anything because you didn't sign that agreement with them. That's one reason why if they take you to court, they will lose. And then I know some people be like, well, why you just didn't pay your bill? Okay, things happen. I think at the time I was on workman's comp, so my income drastically decreased. And when it comes to keeping a roof over my head and my own car, well, I'm going to have to pick and choose. Even though I don't have to explain that to you, but just for those who was wondering. Okay, so next thing, contingency. If you have a great case, you have information, you have evidence and whatnot, some attorneys will take your case on contingency. That means you don't have to pay anything up front. You guys win, you get a settlement, they'll get paid on the end. Yeah, I think it's highway robbery at times, but still, you didn't have to pay them up front. That's about it. I hope that was informative to you guys who want to know how you can fight discrimination and racism and biasness on the job. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. This isn't just a story about a bank. No, it's not. It's a story about a promise, a betrayal, and the incredible resilience of people who refuse to give up. We're talking about how just years after being freed from being prisoners, bonded, being bound and chained in this country, Black Americans built a multi-million-dollar financial institution from scratch. It was a beacon of hope that ended in a devastating tragedy. March the 3rd, 1865, the Civil War is tearing itself apart in its final bloody days. On that one day, President Abraham Lincoln signs two landmark bills. One creates the Freedmen's Bureau, a government agency to help 4 million newly freed people. The other charters a bank. Not just any bank, the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. What was its goal, you might ask? Well, it was revolutionary. Teach financial independence to people who's been systematically denied it. It was a promise of economic freedom, a tool to build wealth from the ground up, and for a while it worked spectacularly. To get just how radical the Freedmen's Bank was, you have to understand the world it was born into. For over 200 years, the entire American economy ran on the forced labor of enslaved Black people. You hear that? Those who want to deny that the wealth in this country started from slavery, the entire country built wealth from enslavement of Black Americans. They weren't just workers, they were capital, property. They couldn't own anything, earn a wage, or build wealth for their families. Then suddenly 4 million people are free. But what does that even mean with no resources? No land, no money, no financial education. For too many, it meant swapping one kind of slavery for another. The crushing debt of sharecropping, it was economic bondage with a new name. Black soldiers who had fought bravely for the Union were now getting back pay. For many, it was the first real money they'd ever held. But new money brought new dangers.
Hands up! Now!
Scammers and thieves saw them as easy prey. In the established white banks, they often just refused to do business with them. A safe place to put their money wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity for survival. The need was real, and the hunger for economic citizenship was deep. And that's where the Freedmen Saving Bank comes in. Championed by white abolitionists and chartered by the U.S. Congress, it had a clear, noble mission to be a safe place for the savings of former slaves, soldiers, and their families. The bank's charter was super specific. All deposits could only be invested in secure U.S. government bonds. This wasn't supposed to be a commercial bank making risky loans. It was a non-profit savings institution. And so they said it was championed by white abolitionists. Why did they allow freedmen to get their money stolen from them? That's a question that needs to be answered. You know what a white abolitionist is, right? They were against slavery and for the rights of Black American citizens. So why weren't they the gatekeepers of that bank, ensuring that Black men and their families didn't get ripped off? That sounds like a liberal to me. Let's continue. The message spread by pastors and community leaders was simple and powerful. This bank is for you. It's safe. It's your future. And people believed it. How could they not? They saw the seal of the United States on the charter and figured their money was backed by the full faith and credit of the government. Branches started popping up with incredible speed, opening in cities with large Black populations and near military bases. From Washington, D.C. to New Orleans, the Freedmen's Bank became a real physical symbol of a new era. And the response, it was overwhelming. A tidal wave of pure economic determination. In just 7 years, the bank opened 37 branches across 17 states. Over 67,000 people opened accounts. Farmers, laborers, cooks, blacksmiths, and washerwomen came in to deposit their hard-earned money. For the first time, they had a bank book, a real symbol of their savings and their stake in the American dream. Now, the accounts were often small, most between $5 and $50, but together their power was immense. Some accounts held just pennies, opened by kids who were being taught the importance of savings. In Augustus, Georgia branch, almost a quarter of all depositors were children. This wasn't just about individuals either. Black churches and businesses opened accounts, building wealth for their communities. A huge chunk of the first deposits came from Black Union soldiers, men who have fought for their freedom and were now investing in it. By its peak, in 1872, the Freedmen's Bank held over $3.7 million. In today's money, that was around $80 million. The bank even built this magnificent headquarters in Washington, D.C., a proud building right across the street from the U.S. Treasury. The great abolitionist Frederick Douglass wrote that when he saw it, he felt that half had not been told about its success. He said it was a sight he never expected to see. Black financial institutions standing tall in the nation's capital. It was a powerful statement of progress, a testament to a people proving their doubters wrong. But behind the magnificent facade, the foundation was already rotten. From the very beginning, the bank had a critical flaw. All 50 of its original trustees were white men, and they weren't required to put up any of their own money or face any penalty for mismanagement. Then things got worse. The bank moved its main office to Washington, D.C., where it fell in with a new circle of politicians and businessmen. This new leadership got impatient. with the slow, safe profits from government bonds. So in 1870, they lobbied Congress and got the bank's charter changed. This one little amendment had catastrophic consequences. It allowed the bank to start making real estate loans and speculating in the stock market. The vault was now wide open. What happened next was a master class in greed and corruption. The bank's money, the savings of the farmers and former slaves, was used for risky, unsecured loans to the trustees' friends. They gambled on volatile railroad stocks. One trustee, Henry Cook, funneled hundreds of thousands of the Freedmen's bank money into his own family's bank, using the deposits of the poor to finance the schemes of the rich. As Frederick Douglass would later say, the bank had become the black man's cow, but the white man's milk. And then came the Panic of 1873, a financial crisis that crashed the entire American economy. The risky investments the Freedmen's Bank made became worthless. The house of cards came crashing down. As the panic spread, people rushed the branches trying to get their money out. In a desperate last-ditch effort to restore confidence, the trustees went to the most respected black man in America, Frederick Douglass. They asked him to be the bank's new president in March of 1874, hoping to save the institution he admired so much. Douglass said yes. He even put up $10,000 of his own money into it as a show of faith. He had no idea what he was walking into. When he finally took control and saw the books, he understood the real horror. The bank was completely hollowed out. Its vaults were just filled with worthless IOUs. He later wrote that he realized he had been married to a corpse. It was too late. Just a few months after taking over, Douglass had to tell Congress to shut the bank down. On June 29, 1874, the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company closed its doors forever. The devastation was absolute. 61,144 depositors lost nearly $3 million. These weren't Wall Street investors. These were families who lost everything. Their life savings, the reward for years of hard work, vanished overnight. After years of legal fights, most depositors got back only pennies on the dollar. Many got nothing at all. The collapse of the Freedmen's Bank wasn't just a financial loss, it was a deep psychological blow. It shattered the dreams that were tied to that money. Dreams of buying a home, starting a business, sending kids to school. Even worse, it destroyed trust. The one institution that was supposed to teach the value of savings taught a brutal lesson in betrayal instead. For generations, the memory of the Freedmen's Bank created a deep and completely justified distrust of financial institutions in the black community. A trust that still echoes today. This single event was a key factor in creating the racial wealth gap that America is still dealing with. It robbed thousands of families of their first real chance at building generational wealth. But in a tragic twist of irony, there's another side of this legacy. To open an account, the bank collected incredibly detailed personal information, names, ages, family members, even the names of former enslavers. The records of these failed banks have now become one of the most priceless resources for Black American genealogical research, allowing countless families today to trace their roots back through slavery to the hopeful dawn of freedom. The story of the Freedmen's Bank is a painful, powerful reminder of a promise broken. It shows the incredible economic drive of newly freed people and the corrupt forces that undermine their progress. It's a story that absolutely must be told. In 2016, the U.S. Treasury Department officially renamed the Treasury Annex Building, the very building on the site of the bank's proud headquarters, the Freedmen's Bank Building. It's a permanent acknowledgement of what was achieved, what was lost, and the unfinished business of economic justice in America. So now you got a clear understanding why a lot of black people to this day, especially older black people, don't mess with the banks. They don't do it. And then you got some people in our community ignorant, assuming, make fun of it and or treat these black people like, mentally handicapped because they don't have a bank. They don't have a bank for many reasons. Some don't have a bank because they just don't have a bank, and some don't have a bank because they don't trust them. Where were the abolitionists when this happened? See what I'm talking about? Where are these people that were supposedly aligned with us and wanted to unify with us? Where were they when tragedy happened? Where were the Pan-Africanists? From what I researched, they didn't come about until like the 1920s. But like I said in other videos that I've done about delineation and whatnot, I always ask you guys, when you guys did establish yourself in this country and tragic, devastating things happened to our community, where were you? And anyone, if you can answer this question, can you name one or two things that Pan-Africanists did particularly for the Black American community that was beneficial? The comments are open. It's free to comment. It's free to like, subscribe, and share too. But seriously, historians, people who study Black American history, world history, African history, tell me, what have Pan-Africanists done to particularly, specifically help the Black American community? I'll wait. But until then, I'm going to be out. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm shutting down the shop, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.